Today I'm going to be demonstrating how to fill or correct damage on a body panel. That could be fiberglass, steel, or aluminum. This one in particular is aluminum. And the tools you'll need to do so are a body filler and a hardener. Evercoat is the most reputable brand that produces a body filler and has the most widespread use across restoration and collision work. And there's a hardener that comes with it. And to mix these, you'll do 50 parts to 1 part hardener. So for 100 grams of body filler, you'll use 2 grams of hardener. You also need a spreader to spread the body filler over and across the damaged area. You'll also need a glass cleaner or some form of alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, to clean the panel prior to applying the body filler. And paper towels to wipe the glass cleaner on there. You also need a directional air sander or a sanding block. Either or could be used. This is faster, but this will produce a more straight panel, and the damage will be uniform, as this block is almost dead straight. The sandpaper we're using is going to be 80 grit. Usually to do body filler work we use lower grits like 40, 80, and sometimes 120, but most common is 80, and it comes in both a rectangular roll and circles or pads. And we'll also need a hammer. Normally you wouldn't use a hammer, but for the demonstration I got to create the damage, so that's why the hammer's here. That's it for so the next step in this process is to prepare the damaged area using our sandpaper. The reason being is we need to create a scuffed surface so that our filler can mechanically adhere to the body panel. And when we sand the damaged area, we're going to want to go back about 3 inches from the damaged area all the way around to create a uniform surface, so that when we apply our primer after doing our body filler, there's not a divot where our damage is. So it evenly blends with the rest of the panel. But to prepare the damaged area, at first we need a damaged area. So we'll take our hammer and create a dent. And then the next step will be to mix our filler and sand this area. So now I'm going to prepare the panel so we have that 3-inch space blending into the rest of the panel. We'll want to take the dent area down to bare metal so that we have the strongest adhesion possible. So for this demonstration, to make it faster, I'm going to be using the air sander we have with pressurized air coming from this hose. A smaller air compressor would work, but since I'm at the shop, we have an industrial sized air compressor. This is an example of what we want our panel to look like. We want to have this all down to bare metal where the damage actually is, and then leading back from it, we want to have a smooth surface that you can't feel. With using your fingernail, it doesn't catch on anything, and you can't feel the change into the paint. That's what we want to feel. And once that's achieved, then we can grab something like a board or anything flat to mix our body filler on. It could be a piece of cardboard or a mixing board, but something to mix the filler on. And then after that, we'll be spreading the filler across the damage to take up that. All right, so our next step now is going to be to clean this area and clean all the dust off with our glass cleaner. So we'll take some glass cleaner, we'll spray it over the damaged area, and then take some paper towels and wipe it down. Now we're not too concerned with the area around, like over here, with all this dust, just more so right in this area. We want to make sure there's not any grease, dust, or anything that's going to contaminate our surface. So next we'll take something flat. In this case I have a mixing board. And we'll take a dollop of filler and place it on our mixing board, like so. And the larger the dent, the more filler we're gonna need. For a smaller dent, we won't need so much filler, but since I whacked it a few times with a hammer, it's kind of a larger indent, so we might need just a tad bit more filler. So, once we have that, we mix our hardener. Now, I know I said 50-to-1, but we don't have a scale, and most shops just eyeball it. So, per the manufacturer, we spread a bead across the filler, just like so, and then mix it thoroughly until there's a uniform color is achieved and all the body filler is the exact same color. And once that's achieved, then we know that the body filler is consistent throughout and one part is not going to harden faster than another, which is what we would not want. So we spread this, trying to avoid folding it over on itself and to create air pockets inside. We don't want air pockets. We want this smooth consistency. If we were to flip it on itself and stir it like that, we're going to create air pockets inside the filler that is going to cause air pockets inside the damaged area, which will then cause it to chip and flake and all the stuff that we don't want. So we'll take it like this and kind of smear it until it's all the same color. And this might take a minute depending on how long you've done this or how much filler there is. So once our filler is uniform, we kind of want to spread it out like so. When it's more spread out, it dissipates heat slower, so it doesn't harden as fast. So now we'll want to spread our filler tightly across the dent to squeeze out any of those air pockets. And we want to go to about that 3-inch mark. Going past that, really, I mean, it's not bad or anything. You'll end up sanding it out. So, but we kind of want to try and keep our repair area as small as possible. You don't want to take all this filler at once and glob it on there. You will create air pockets within the filler, so definitely try and avoid that. And depending on the size of the dent, it might take 2 passes of putting filler on to fill the dent completely. Just like that, we've spread our filler, and now once this glossy film is gone, it's kind of turned hazy and dull, then we know that now once the filler has dried and hardened, you can tell once you can stick a fingernail in it and drag it across, and it's not going to leave a groove in it. It'll just kind of scratch the surface. Once we know that it's hardened, then we can begin sanding. To save some time, so this video doesn't end up being 30 minutes, we're going to use our orbital sander with an air hose just to buzz this down and make it completely flat. And then after that, we would clean the area and prepare it for primer. Now, once our filler has been sanded down, you run your hand across it and you'll still be able to feel any deficiencies, whether they be highs or lows. Each dent is going to be different. Sometimes the dent inward is going to cause a crown around the dent. It's going to pinch the metal and bring a high spot just below the dent, or just before the dent. So if I were to hit here, typically around it there's going to be a high spot that you're going to have to knock down once the filler's added. But in this particular case, there was no high spots around it, and we got it all with the first pass. So after this, we would prep the area with glass cleaner once more and some paper towels. And then blow it off with some air, and then we would be ready to spray our primer over this. And then once the primer's sprayed, we would do the same sanding procedure. And then once that's sanded, similar to how the filler is sanded, then we would put sealer and base coat over that, and then clear coat. And then you have a painted hood. So I appreciate you guys watching this video, and I hope it helped. Thank you.